force for change, for positive change in neighborhoods. My name is Lisa Laughlin. I'm your moderator. I am one of the mayor's neighborhood liaisons. I serve the south part of Center Township. Have for about 6 years. Love my neighborhoods. Love my job. And I am pleased to get to be a part of this today. I'm going to introduce kind of the ground rules. We have three speakers, 2 neighborhoods, 2 groups, who will have 20 minutes each to share their stories with you of how they took few and became many, or took few and became one, or took few and became many and became a force for positive change in their areas. They both got a little bit of different spin on what happened in their neighborhoods and what happened in their communities, and I hope that you will listen closely and ask good questions. Each group will have 20 minutes to present their story to you. We'll have 20 minutes for questions that we're going to hold until the end. So if you've got a question while somebody's talking, you might just want to write it down, and then when everybody's done, we'll entertain questions at the end. With us today, we have Brittany Redd from the Mapleton Fall Creek CDC, Community Development Corporation, and we have Judith Essex and Crystal Bridgewater from the Old South Side. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brittany.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Let me grab it. Okay, so as Lisa said, I'm going to tell our story about how the residents and neighbors of Mapleton Fall Creek came together to ensure that only positive neighborhood-friendly businesses came into our community. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we prevented another gas station from entering our neighborhoods. So one of the major contributing factors for our efforts was the fact that we had a comprehensive land use plan already in place to steer future development efforts. So the Mapleton Fall Creek Land Use Plan was adopted in 2013 with extensive community input. There was the City of Indianapolis, Mapleton Fall Creek Development Corporation, 3 different neighborhood associations, just a bunch of people at the table to say, this is what we want to happen in our community. This is what we want. This is how we want our land to be used. And it went hand in hand with the existing quality of life plan that was in place. And it really furthered the efforts of the quality of life plan to promote businesses and entrepreneurs and increase new housing and recreational opportunities. So that was a huge part of it, the fact that we had something in place. So, so right here is a map that highlights one of the areas that was flagged in the plan that we saw potential problems with when it came to the zoning. One of the problems was the C3 zoning. Now, even though area can be highly residential, in C3 zones you can have businesses that are less desirable for neighbors, like gas stations, like liquor stores, pawn shops, tanning salons, things like that. So we flagged that in our plan. And these are some more desirable options for commercial establishments that we envision for the community. Coffee shops, restaurants, bakeries, offices, a grocery store. Grocery store is still part of the conversation. We're really working towards making that happen. And what's interesting about this area is that it also encompasses the Mapleton Fall Creek Development Corporation's LEAD-ND target area. Now, LEAD-ND is a program with the U.S. Green Building Council. It sets energy efficiency and environmental sustainability standards and really works to make sure that green building is happening in organizations. So an interesting thing about Mapleton Fall Creek is that it's one of the first communities in the nation to receive certification under these rigorous sustainability standards. Now this is really important because it shows that efforts are already in place to make sure that green building and smart neighborhood building, well, smart neighborhood planning and design are in place. Okay. And significant investments were made in order to implement our land use plan. This is an example of that. Over $100,000 was implemented towards brownfield remediation. These are 2 pictures of underground storage containers that were removed at the site that I showed you a little while ago. So the first one on the left is was removed from a former gas station site, and the one on the right was a former dry cleaning site. So this is already happening. We set the plan, and now we're saying, okay, now let's start getting rid of the stuff that was problematic in the past. So in addition to all the efforts that we were leading in Mapleton Fall Creek, there was a city-wide project called Indy Rezone. It was meant to update the city's zoning standards, and one of the highlights of this project was that it would remove gas stations and convenience stores from those C3 zones that we consider to be somewhat problematic because they tend to be in highly residential areas, and this was the case with, well, I'll tell you about in just a second. And one of the interesting things about Rezone Indy was that it was kind of like impending doom for property owners that had plans to turn their property into gas stations, because essentially you would no longer be able to do that. So there was a huge rush for property owners to construct their gas stations and gas station convenience stores before that moratorium took place. And we saw this in Mapleton Fall Creek at the property on 32nd and Central. This is what I was moving toward in the beginning. So that happened to us. So what's interesting about the moratorium was that typically maybe a handful of applications are submitted every year for these kind of constructions. But in that year, I think it was around 18 applications were submitted for construction. And this is an article in the Indiana Business Journal that goes into more detail. You can still look that up to get more information about, because this is still a relatively new topic. So.
Can we ask questions while you're speaking?
Oh, we're going to wait for that. Now, that sparked a lot of concern in the community. Now, what you're seeing here are letters of petitions and concern. Mapleton Fall Creek Neighborhood Association actually organized an online and door-to-door petition against the gas station being constructed in the area. Midtown Indianapolis, a few churches in the community also sent letters opposing the gas station, in addition to Mapleton Fall Creek Development Corporation, who not only sent a letter, but we acquired counsel to assist in an appeal effort. So that resulted in something great. Our voices were actually heard on this issue. We came together, and one of the things that I didn't mention was social media. That was a huge part of how we communicated, and the debates were like really heated about the gas station, and people were actually educating one another about why a gas station is problematic and providing each other with an update. So what exactly is going on? Well, they submitted a petition and this is what happened. So yeah, Nextdoor was really helpful. So as a result of those collaborative efforts, a stop work order was issued which was really important because as I mentioned earlier, because of the moratorium, construction was really being rushed. They wanted to finish that gas station before the city said you can no longer construct gas stations in those areas. Also, the building permit was finally revoked. So that leads us to where are we now? Well, after the decision was made to revoke the original permit, the owner appealed that decision, and we have a hearing November 9th at 1:30 p.m. that is open to the public, and I encourage you to come out and show support. You will not actually be able to speak at the hearing, but you can, just your presence is really enough. And our goal is to make sure that the decisions the court made will not be reversed. So that's where we all are today. And I have to tell you, the great thing the reason why this came about was because of collaboration, was because of communication and a shared commitment, and a shared vision of what we wanted our community to look like. Is that all?
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Judith Essex and Crystal Bridgewater from the Old South Side. I'm going to share how 3 neighborhoods became one and the amazing things that are going on since then.
You can show them how to shut down.
Yeah,
the
start
program.
the other one.
Can you shut down?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Brittany. Is that where you want it in the slideshow?
No, I want it in the slideshow.
It is in the
Oh,
slideshow.
yes. Here's the,
Well,
Here's the clip.
I was going to use this. Okay, let's step around here so I can see these people. Okay, sorry. So we can see everybody.
you away from you guys.
Yeah, we're going to stand over here and so that we can see our screen. And
Is that okay?
need a little more light, Lisa. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Judith, and we're from the Old South Side neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm Crystal.
Yeah. And this morning we're going to tell you a little bit about how our neighborhood came to be and some of the things that brought us together. Crystal, you start.
Along with a neighbor, Judah and I, we met Lisa Laughlin to see how we can start a neighborhood association. And we quickly found out that one already existed, the Babe Denny neighborhood group. So they're kind of located over by I-70. So they would meet over at Bethesda Missionary Baptist Church. So in September 2012, we had our first meeting with the Babe Denny Neighborhood Association. And we quickly learned that they had like a big issue with event parking concerning the Lucas Oil Stadium. So, yeah, and yes, they are located at I-70.
Yeah, the Babe Denny neighborhood is actually split in two by I-70. We live south of I-70, and where the meetings were taking place was north of I-70. And every meeting we go to, you know, there was a conversation about event parking. Well, we didn't have that problem in our neighborhood, but we continued to go, and as time went on, another issue popped up on our side of I-70. And along with the Old South Side Neighborhood Association, we did join forces, and that issue was another gas station. There was one being proposed at the corner of Meridian and Morris Street. And they were going to tear down one of our last remaining buildings, old buildings. When I-70 went through, we lost lots and lots of our older structures, Oriental Theater, a lot of housing. So the neighborhood had really suffered a lot since the highway had gone through. And we just didn't feel like this gas station was the best use for that area. We felt like that was going to be our main commercial corridor, and having another gas station there didn't seem appropriate, especially when another company had just taken over a gas station about 2 blocks south of there. They had put like $200,000 into their business, and and along comes this supposedly brand new gas convenience station, and it would have been very difficult for their business to thrive, and we didn't need 2 gas stations within a 2-block area. And so we started having joint meetings with the Old South Side, and we went to the city-county building. We did file a remonstrance, and we appeared at that hearing, and amazingly, we had about 20 people show up. And at that meeting, when they asked if there was anyone from the neighborhood to remonstrate, we all stood up. I mean, you can't believe how impressive that was to have like 1/2 of the room all stand up. And so we presented our case, and amazingly, the Metropolitan Development Commission reversed an earlier decision, and we won. So the building is still standing, it's still empty, but it has been purchased, and so we feel encouraged that something good is going to happen. The other thing that came out of that joint meeting was that we decided to join forces. Each of the neighborhood organizations in that area, and forgive me, we need to back up and tell you, our north boundary is South Street, Lucas Oil Stadium. Our south boundary is almost all the way to Raymond Street, not quite. And west boundary is the river. Oh, and here's some of the documents that we presented for our remonstrance. We had the letters of support from the neighborhood, we had our petition, and we did all those things that you're supposed to do, and we were thrilled with the outcome of that. Let's see. So once we decided that we would join our 3 neighborhoods, that was Pogues Run, Bay Denny Neighborhood, and the Old South Side Neighborhood Association. And amazingly, we all agreed that the name that most identified our area was the Old South Side. Because anybody that grew up in that area, when you asked them where they lived, they said the Old South Side.
And so over the next few months, during that whole process of developing our neighborhood association, we didn't have elected officers, and we didn't have bylaws. So we had our city councilor, Jeff Miller, Lisa Laughlin, and Eric Strickland. He's from the Raleigh area development, to preside in our monthly meetings.
That was pretty neat, because it allowed us to get acquainted with each other. We didn't have the pressure of electing officers right away. Quickly learned out that the current presidents of those organizations didn't want to remain as president, so there was going to have to be some decisions made. So it was a time of getting acquainted for us. And so in August of 2013, we finally did get our bylaws in place. We got officers elected. Yours truly ended up with that position as president, and we started our new neighborhood association. And so we did learn that going from few to many brings new responsibilities. We didn't have a land use plan filed with the city. We didn't have a quality of life plan, and these were all things that needed to be done. And so We did receive some money from INHP for a land use plan, and that was done throughout 2014. CSO Architects did that plan for us. We had lots and lots of meetings, and people, saying what they wanted, and it was very, very good. Once again, it gave us an opportunity to get better acquainted with each other, because we had the folks from the north side of I-70, and then lots of us from south of I-70. So it was a real time of getting acquainted and learning what we all envisioned for our neighborhood. The quality of life issue wasn't quite as simple and quick as the land use plan. We were acquainted with the Southeast Congress over in Fountain Square, and we started attending that Congress, and decided in July of, 2014, that we would petition to join that Congress. We did that, and they only meet like every 3 months, so it's not a fast process. And so we did petition in October, and then we were just admitted into the Southeast Congress in March of this year. And so that gave us two of the things that we really needed to move forward as a neighborhood. We had our land use plan, it was filed with the city, we had our quality of life plan now, and so we're good to go. And, okay.
So going from few to many, still doing the whole process, people just coming along, more people just, now inspired to see what's going on now. So, during that whole, I was encouraged to, attend the community leadership certification at the INRC. And I just met a lot of people and just kind of networking and getting familiar, with everybody's concerns and stuff when it comes to their community and things like that. And then I also volunteer to help with the painting, the mural. And during that experience, I made the front page of any Star, not with the police next to me with handcuffs on, not like that, but in a very positive way. And I just wanted to kind of show you the front page.
And here she is.
Never been on the front page of anything. And also, I was also, really was encouraged and really was inspired when we got our gateway, Welcome to Old Southside Gateway, because that let me know we had a sense of pride now. Now we're recognized. So I was like, all right, and it's beautiful, with all the flowers and all that around it. So it just really put life right there into the community. So it's really drawing people now, to come in and just say, oh, okay, what's going on, because I've heard that the Old South Side was just kind of forgot about and just was left there. So now I'm getting it revitalized.
Woohoo! Yeah, at least we've got something pretty now, something pretty. I'm all about pretty. And thinking along those lines, we started working with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. And we started participating in the cleanups. That's Crystal in the red, way back there in the background there.
She's playing over there?
Yeah. She's cleaning out that fence row. And the other thing that this has brought to our neighborhood, because we've gotten involved and started doing these things, going from few to many, brings responsibilities, but it also brings rewards too. And one of those rewards is that we are going to be the target neighborhood for the Great Indy Cleanup in 2016. So we're really excited about that. And one of the things that I've been really concerned about in that is the organization of it, because you can't have 400 people rolling into your neighborhood and not be ready. And we've been very, very blessed that the current class of Public Allies has chosen the Old South Side to work. And they are going to help us be organized for that project. And I'm very, very grateful. The other thing that we've had done is a database was done for us by the graduate students at IUPUI. And that has helped identify the owners of all these lovely properties that you see scattered throughout our neighborhood. And we now know how many there are, we know who owns them, and that is another project that the Public Allies are going to start helping us with. And the other thing that has happened that's been really positive for our neighborhood was we had our first neighborhood party. There is an area in our neighborhood where there's a lot of urban art. Some people call it graffiti. We have been calling it urban art. And people have been coming there for well over a decade to take pictures. A lot of kids have done their senior pictures there. And we were very fortunate this past year to have Dan Thompson, one of the city's muralists, come and do a new mural. It's a step up from what we usually see here. There's two buildings on East Palmer where there's a lot of urban art. This is American Tintin Awning, and they've allowed artists to work there for years. And Dan chose James Whitcomb Riley as the focus for his mural this year. He has found, and we agree with him, that historical issues are of importance and to the community, and especially, Indiana historical people. So this is James Whitcomb Riley. I told him we've got to get the name on there because not everybody recognizes James Whitcomb Riley. I wouldn't, but he's going to do that, and you can see what the saying is, and that's from one of Riley's poems, one of his sayings. So we want to thank you from all of us here at the Old South Side. Can you tell which person lives in the Old South Side? I'm sorry, I just think that's the funniest picture ever, and that's me in the middle. And these are the holy men that are in Kathmandu. But really, our thanks is from the Old South Side, and thank you for listening to us this morning.
Thank you very much. So, are there questions? I know we had one over here earlier for Brittany.
I almost forgot it, but I guess I do remember it. As it relates to the Mapleton Fall Creek area, when there was the controversy, and it's still somewhat ongoing, not completely finished at this point, regarding the gas station at 32nd and Central, and because they're still going through the court system, where do things stand with the outreach to keeping the community informed on what the outcome is going to be about that? And then, if for whatever reason it's determined that they will not allow a gas station to go right there in that area, are there already plans in place to determine some other type of business that is able to be located at that spot, or will that be something that'll have to be ongoing future data to try to determine some new business that will be able to go in that area?
As far as, Brittany, obviously you're coming up, sorry.
You can read all of it.
So as far as communicating with the neighbors about the process and where we stand with the hearings and stuff like that, one of my jobs with Mapleton Fall Creek CDC is to make sure that I'm attending neighborhood association meetings and doing that outreach anyway. But then also, one of the things that's really unique about Mapleton Fall Creek is that the neighbors are very active. So they will come to me, they'll communicate with each other via next door about what's happening. So those are the primary ways that we stay informed. And also, our CEO is here, Lee Riley Evans, so she wants to piggyback on anything.
You're good, keep going.
One of the reasons why I asked that question, being somewhat familiar with the Mapleton Fall Creek area, is that does not even seem to be an area where something such as a gas station would normally want to be located. So my thinking would be, how were they able to even begin that process of deciding to locate a gas station in that area? And if it came down to the fact that there being a permit that was revoked, how were they able to get a permit in the first place?
So that all boils down to the zoning codes. So that area is zoned C3. Now, even though that's a highly residential area, it's just surrounded by houses. And then even that property itself has historically been high-density housing apartments. But there's kind of like a loophole in the zoning code that allows for those kind of businesses. So what Indy Rezone is doing is kind of trying to eliminate that from happening from now on. And you asked a question about if the hearing goes as we would like it to go and they keep it, they stick with the decision that they originally made, what will we do with that property? What's interesting is because the owner was like really rushing construction, he had so much done. Well, it's not that bad. There's actually a concrete pad right there. So I'm not sure, I don't think we've had conversations about what the property will be, but that is something that we'll have to discuss I'm just going to speak it into existence. Once they say that we're not changing our decision, that's a conversation that's going to have to be had with the community. Is there another question?
No, but I can come up.